Greetings and welcome to Education and More's Learn Python 3 Programming at a Snail's Pace. My name is Marcus Gardner and I'll be the instructor for this course. In today's video, we're going to talk about reading from a file. Now, reading from a file is one of the most important things you need to be able to do, okay? As well as reading from the internet, okay? I think reading from a file is much more important than getting information from the user. Yes, getting information from the user is important, but I think if you're a programmer for a long time, I think you'll find more use out of reading from a file or reading from the internet than reading from the user. That's just my personal opinion. But anyway, it's important to know them all. So today we're going to talk about reading from a file. Okay, so we talk about the open statement. Now, every programming language has an open statement. Many of them are the open. Okay, so what we have here is we're asking for the file to open. Okay, and then we assign it to what's called a file handler. Now, what this does is it opens a file and then it can traverse the inside of it. Okay, now you can actually print it. And that's one of the exercises I want you to try to do is just print, like a string. You're going to do print file handler and you'll actually see some information about the file. Actually, we can do that. Okay. But anyway, so let's take a look at this. Let's see here. File new. File save as. And this is lesson 12. And let's see here, P, and then down 6 more. There we go. Save. Okay, so we're going to do just like we have here. We're going to have file name is equal to input, enter file to open. I forgot a parentheses. Okay, it didn't show in red, so that's why I knew it was a mistake somewhere. And then file handler. You can call it anything you want. I like very descriptive names. Okay, open file name. Okay, and let's go ahead and print file handler. Now, it doesn't tell us anything about what's inside the file, but it has some information there. So let's take a look at it. Right click, open here, and I've actually got a file that we're going to look at. I've actually given it to you as your homework here. Let's go ahead and look at this one first. Grocery. Okay. All right. So I called it. Okay. Grocery.txt. So Python. Grocery.txt. Alright, that's the name of the file I want to open. Okay. Python lesson 12.py. Okay. Grocery.txt. Okay. So it's just text.io. The name is grocery text. The mode is read. Right now, I don't have anything in my open statement except file name. Later on, I'll tell you how to make modifications to this to say open it for write in case you want to write the file and other things you can do. Okay. Also, you can do the R, but that's the default. R means read. Okay. And this is an encoding. Don't worry about that. Okay. All right. So again, very little information. All right. Next, we're going to use a for statement. Now, I'm going to talk to you more about for in a little bit later video. But most of the time, we'll use for to actually get the information that is in a file. So let's see what we have here. For line, I call it line. You can put any word you want here. In file handler. So the file handler even though it has, when we printed it, just a little bit of information about the file, the file handler is what can traverse the file. Okay? So what we're going to do is get a line of information in file handler. Okay? Okay. So let's see what happens. So for line in file handler, print line. Okay, and let's go back. Again, grocery.txt. Okay. List of items: eggs, milk, cheese, steaks, shrimp. And let's see here, grocery. List of items: eggs, milk, cheese, steaks, shrimp. Okay. We'll talk about this extra line stuff later. Okay. It's because of the carriage return. Alright, but a little bit more strings we need to talk about that, and some other methods. So we'll leave that alone for right now. So right now, each of these lines contains one item. Now let's talk about what a line is. What's a line? Now, if you grab a book, this is the book that my son is reading for his bedtime stories. If you grab a book, then a line is just, a few characters. Okay? But a computer isn't reading a book. Okay? It's reading a file. And to a computer, a line can keep going for a long time. Okay? And there's really not much of a limit. There's really only two limitations. One, how much memory your computer has. Because if it's going to read in a line of data, your computer has to have enough information, enough memory to read in that line of data. And of course, two, the size of your hard drive. Okay? I can't imagine one line of information being bigger than a hard drive, but it's possible. You see, while we write books and write letters to people, we hit enter and we start new paragraphs and new lines all the time. But the thing is, you don't have to. You could just keep typing and typing and typing. Okay? There is no limit to a line. So I could just sit here and blah, 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 or just, hold down on my keys and just let it go. Okay? And go. And go. And go. Okay? There is no limit. Well, again, two limits I told you about. Okay? So, you got to separate yourself from what you think a line is when you're dealing with a computer programming. Okay? When you're reading from a file, the line can be extremely long. But the important thing is that you know how it's laid out. Without knowing how it's laid out, you're not going to be able to get the data. So right now, here we go. What if I asked you to list only the items that you want? Well, the first thing you're going to do is read the first line and throw it away. And then everything afterwards you're going to tell me. Okay? But notice there is an extra line here. Okay? So, how many lines do we have? So, we're going to have to deal with some maybe extra lines in here. What if I did this? What if I did that? Now, we'll actually take care of that when we talk more about strings and some methods that strings have. But I want you to be familiar with that. But don't worry, we're not going to deal with that right away. Your homework assignment, before I talk about that, there are a couple things you're going to need to worry about when you actually do your programming assignment. Okay? Remember, anytime you program something, you got to ask yourself, what could go wrong? So what could go wrong here? Okay, answer the question before I tell you. So if you need to, pause. Okay, so what could go wrong is that when you try to open the file doesn't exist. Okay, so you don't want it to error out. So let's try it again. Junk. Okay, and we got an error. We don't want this error. So again, you're going to need to do something like a loop, just like before. Okay, when you're asking the person for a file, for a name or something, you're going to have to say that the file doesn't exist. Please double check and re-enter the file name. And for right now, that's the only thing you have to worry about with just printing lines. But your homework is going to need a little bit more. I'll let you decide that later. Okay? So your homework deals with using this grades. So here we have a smart student by the name of Marcus who got 100 on all his tests. Wow, that's a smart student. Then we have a student by the name of John who only took 3 of the tests. Amy who took 4. Beth didn't take any. Sheila took 2. Johnny didn't take any. Kevin didn't take any. Liam didn't take any. And then Zach. Well, this Zach guy was very, very smart. He got better than 100. Okay? So what I want you to do for the homework is just list their names and their average grade and how many grades they took or how many tests they took. Okay? Simple. Well, you'll be able to do it. Okay? You know enough. You're going to have to do some if statements, but I think you have an easy time doing this assignment. Okay. I've actually got the text file on the website, so all you got to do is check it there. There's going to be a lot more that we can do with this reading of a file, but I'm going to save that after I teach you a lot more. Okay, I'm going to be teaching you some things, for loops again, some more information about the for loops, and I'm also going to teach you things about lists and some other methods about strings. Strings are very, very important, and I think we're going to need to talk about those in this section. So it's going to be a very long section, much longer than our first section, which was only 11 videos, because there's a lot to cover. Okay? There's a lot of important things you can do with strings. I am not going to cover everything on strings at this coming videos. Again, I like to use what's important to use. I like to teach what's important first, and then later on add the extra parts. Okay? I know many of these other teachers will just show you everything you can do with strings. I don't agree with that. Okay? Because if you just throw everything at you at once, you'll probably forget it. So I'm going to show you the important stuff first, and then later on add the extra stuff that you can do with strings. Lists is extremely important too. Probably the most important thing that you will use for a long time. But anyway, so this is opening file, and it's very easy. Again, there's other ways we can do it, but for right now, I just want you to use the open command. Now, there is one limitation for right now, is that the file will have to be in the same directory as your Python file. There are ways to get around this. Now, as I told you about at the very beginning, before we even started class 0, is that Python, you could write the program and it will work everywhere. It will work on Windows, it will work on MacBook, etc. Except there are things you have to be careful about, and those are things that deal with the operating system itself. For example, in Windows, the slashes go a certain way, whereas in Unix, I think it goes the opposite way. And plus the directory structure is different. You have C:, and D:, etc. for your drives. Unix doesn't have that. So it's going to be hard to switch directories without using some other system type operating commands. We'll talk about those later, but for right now, the important stuff is just reading the file. We're not going to worry about reading the file in another directory, okay? That to me is not important for right now. What's important is your ability to read the file, okay? So, we're not going to concentrate on files in other directories now. We'll learn about those later, okay? So I wanted you to make sure when you download this homework file, you put it in the same directory as your Python file. Okay? Alrighty. So then you, of course, you can get your homework from this website. And good luck. There's not much homework for this one because I'm going to need to teach you some more information before I give you a bigger homework assignment. Okay? Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.